Next, what we want to do is go ahead and rotate and duplicate these pieces. So I will start with this one. And for that, we're going to leverage the spin tool. So rather than duplicating all of these and then rotating them, what we're going to do is we're going to do one operation where we actually suggest how many duplicates to use and at what increment. But before we do that, one thing to keep in mind is this mesh's pivot point. In this case, we'll see wherever that is whenever we hit any of the translate tools. So it's going to be move, rotate, or scale. This is exactly where it is. We want it to be dead center here. So I'm going to go back to my front view. And I am going to, up here in the options, I'm going to click it and click origin. So it might look like not much happened, but what actually happened is we've now made this handle selectable and movable rather than the object itself. So if I go to my move tool and start moving, you'll see that I actually move the pivot point and not the object anymore. So I want this to snap to my center point. So I'm going to turn on my snapping and make sure absolute grid snap is on, and I'm going to put it to increment. I'm going to move this right there. And just to make sure that's right, I'm just going to move around. Yeah, that looks right to me. I'm going to go back in here and turn origin off. And notice that whenever I select the object now, the origin is down here. So as an example of the opposite, if I select this, you'll see that the origin's exactly where it was before. Same with this. So every mesh that's not joined together will have its own pivot point, and that needs to be taken into account. So I'm going to quickly change the pivot point on these other two objects as well. And I'm going to leave my snapping on. I'm going to go on my front view to make sure I'm in the right spot. Yep. Great. Again, turn origin off, and that should be good to go. So I'm just going to save now. I'm going to save to the same folder. I'm going to give it a meaningful name, SunClock. I'm going to save. So before I do any duplications here, I'm going to make sure my objects are named because that's really important. So I'm going to name this one Outer Spike 01, something useful like that. Outer Spike, connector. Oops, let's give it a number. And for this one, same thing. We'll call this Inner Spike 01. Cool. Might as well call this empty front ref. That's probably good enough. Cool. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and use this very magical tool that is known as the spin tool. So let's do it with this one here. For this, you need to be in edit mode and you need to have it all selected. So you'll find the spin tool down here. And once we've got that, so in this case, this isn't very useful to us. It's assumed that we want to rotate around this axis, which is not at all what we want. So in this case, we're going to use a little trick, and this is a bit unfortunate considering we're still just learning what the tool is. If we just go ahead and click any one of these, we can see that it's gone ahead and made this duplication and rotation. So to fix this, we actually want to rotate, I believe, around Y. So we're going to change this to 1, and we're going to change Z to 0. There we are. Awesome. That's what we wanted. But I don't think it's as many as we wanted. So let's go into our front view. So we actually want more. So I think we want maybe 16. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So if I go back into my object mode, we can see that my clock is starting to take shape. So we're going to want to do the same thing with these other two objects. And then we're going to do the exact same thing, unfortunately. So change it to 1, change this to 0. And because we set 16 before, it's remembered that and it's using that again. So that's exactly what we want. So we can just leave that. And we'll do the same thing with this. 1, 0. Awesome. Great. Great. So looking at this, I'm thinking maybe these spikes are a little too far forward, but I can play with that later.